This is cultural geography. In case you forgot what class you were in, welcome to week 7 of our online videos. Hopefully that means you've turned in your week 6 packets, which included all the material that you needed for the chapter 19, as well as the first homework and first quiz of chapter 20. All of that should have gotten in your week 6 packet, and you should have gotten your week 7 packet. Included in that week 7 packet should be the cultural metaphor, which we are about to start today, the Nigerian marketplace. Just to give you guys a heads up about upcoming events these last 2 weeks of school, I am not planning on giving you a normal, quote-unquote, exam for this school year. Instead of having something that is a big, giant test that takes up, everything we've learned the entire semester, we're just going to give a regular chapter test. So the chapter 20 test will be your final grade for this semester. So all throughout this week, we're going to finish up the notes, and then your chapter 20 test, which will probably be assigned next week, exam week, will be the final thing that you'll need to do for this class. Make sense? I hope so. We are in the cultural metaphor for this chapter. Remember, I'm using the book Understanding Global Cultures by Martin J. Gannon as we describe a certain aspect of, a unique aspect of a country and apply that aspect, that item, that thing to the people. In this case, the country of Nigeria. Achua said in 2003, "A stroll through the alleyways of any West African market makes clear that most goods bought and sold by the Mama Benzis and the Marhe Mamas aren't exactly part of the technologicalized global marketplace. Rather, they're the products of West African and particularly Nigerian industry." Nigeria represents both the hope and despair of Africa. Ruling classes have squandered natural resources irresponsibly, and corruption is widespread. The average GDP per person is about $300 a year. In fact, Nigeria is the world's 13th poorest country. Its tropical climate subjects its citizens to higher incidence of disease. More than 90% of government revenue comes from oil, making the economy particularly vulnerable to fluctuations in demand for oil. Yet, there is hope. The country has stabilized, and it appears that Nigeria is now on the right track. So, let's talk about the people of Nigeria in relation to the marketplace of Nigeria. Diversity. The marketplace of Nigeria, and we're talking about, a typical place where people would go to buy items. They don't go to grocery stores like we think of in the U.S. today. They would go to the market, these street vendors on the roads. The marketplace is a sprawling, usually bustling place where virtually every commodity is available. It is where the vast majority of the people shop for their daily needs. Not only is the marketplace diverse because of what it sells, but it is diverse because of the different groups of people who come. Commodities in plentiful supply include fresh meat and fish, vegetables, household goods, electrical appliances, jewelry, building materials, clothing, and traditional medicinal herbs. Sellers of similar commodities often unite to form market associations to look after common interests. They kind of form maybe the idea of forming a guild to do that. Nigeria is about the same size of Texas and New Mexico combined, yet there are about 300 ethnic and sub-ethnic groups with as many distinct languages and dialects. Often a dialect is only clearly understood to the inhabitants of a town and its immediate surroundings. Society is clearly delineated by ethnic and language differences, and yet Nigeria tries to forge a national identity. Nigeria was created when the British combined several of its colonies into one without any regard for the Africans already living there. So with all these hundreds of different groups out there, there are three main ethnic groups: the Yoruba, the Hausa Fulani, and the Igbos. The Yoruba live in western Nigeria, if you're looking at the map here, western Nigeria over in this area, making up about 20% of the population. They're the only ones who had an aristocratic class. They have a strong power distance, but there is opportunity for improving oneself in society. The Hausa Fulani live in the northern parts of Nigeria, making up about 30% of the population. They have a strong power distance, and their religion consists of being Sunni Muslims. The Igbos live in eastern Nigeria, and they are known for being egalitarians, treating everyone equally. They have a strong work ethic. They have a longer time orientation than their ethnic counterparts and are more willing to sacrifice short-term enjoyment to attain long-term goals. Each ethnic group has many sub-ethnic groups, and deep-rooted ethnic allegiance often takes precedence over national allegiance. As a typical example, the Egba are among the 20-odd sub-ethnic groups of the Yoruba, but when the chips are down, an Egba considers himself an Egba first, a Yoruba second, and a Nigerian last. There has been a strong sense of national honor and self-worth. While Nigerians in general admire and actively attempt to emulate Western economic and social development, they are quick to take offense at real or perceived condescension on the part of Western visitors. So they're very proud people of their heritage. Most groups have a high uncertainty avoidance level, preferring to deal with people and situations with which they are familiar. Well, isn't that almost all of us? Masculinity behavior is the pursuit of dominance over others, can be attributed to most of these groups. The Hausa Fulani, as Muslims, would definitely consider women subordinate to the men, while the other two main groups have allowed women more freedom to pursue their entrepreneurial goals. Number 2, social dynamism. Nigerians have often been characterized as resourceful, pragmatic, entrepreneurial, and energetic. The idea of social dynamism this refers to the energy, vigor, and adaptability of the society. Well, the marketplace usually bustles with activity. Traders hawk their wares, and shoppers have their favorite stalls. The traders will strive to get the attention of possible customers with their sing-song calls. Bananas, get your bananas. Apples, get your apples, and so on and so forth. The bargaining for goods is energetic as few items have a labeled price. We walk into a store, we see, $19.95 for this new pair of pants. Awesome. Well, they don't have price tags. You haggle over the price. You bargain over the prices. The bargaining for goods is energetic as few items have a labeled price. The buyer must be ready to haggle over the price without insulting the trader or being cheated on an item. Many shoppers have favorite stalls that they go to frequently. There the buyer is taken care of quickly, as little haggling is necessary, as both quickly come to an acceptable price. Doing things quietly is not the Nigerian way, as most activities are done with gusto. Whether it's an argument, a political discussion, a celebration, or a sad occasion, Nigerians are known for not being soft-spoken. There has been a huge push to develop the industrial sector of the economy. Nigeria used to be an agricultural economy, growing cocoa, groundnut, and palm oil. Nigeria takes advantage of the huge amounts of crude oil and natural gas resources that it has. And there's a wide gap, unfortunately, between the rich and the poor. Only about 10% of the population controls most of the wealth. Politically, Nigeria is a Western-style democracy, but threat of authoritarian rule is never far away. Authoritarian means, a dictator or a small group of people taking over. Nigeria consists of a federal government with 23 states. There have been several military coups in the last 40 years. They believe that a sound educational system will provide the energy that would propel the country into the industrialized age. The education system is patterned after that of the U.S. because most of the policymakers were educated in the U.S. Unfortunately, the education system is abysmal in Nigeria. Education is free and compulsory through the 6th grade. Ninth graders, you probably want to move there so then you could be done with school 3 years ago. Yeah. And English is the language used in schooling. Well, that's convenient if we ever went there. Yet most students wish to continue into secondary schooling. They see more schooling as helping them advance. Admission to post-secondary institutions is limited and extremely competitive. Because of lack of funds in colleges, few make it that far, and not all qualified students are admitted. So even if you had straight A average, you might not be able to get into college simply because there aren't enough colleges in Nigeria. They are not shy about making a public scene when the need arises. Arguments are done in a loud and animated manner, but they rarely lead to physical combat. Bystanders eagerly offer their own loud opinions about the ongoing dispute. Competition is intense for nearly everything. This includes competition over jobs, housing, transportation, and other daily necessities of life. They take their leisure time seriously and try to find the time to indulge in their favorite leisure activities. Not everyone goes to the market with the intention of shopping. Some go to take in the scene, browse, or meet friends. Some activities that they might enjoy doing include wrestling, boxing, soccer, and checkers. But the fact of the matter is, what they really want is to be in the company of friends. They love to be in the company of friends where they can pass up the time exchanging ideas or opinions. Holidays and ceremonies are an important aspect of the culture. Let's keep going a little bit longer. Roman numeral 3, balancing tradition and change. Modern Nigerian society is markedly different from the cultures that existed before the outside influences began to take hold in the early 19th century. Political and economic power has shifted from local traditional rulers and their councilors to the educated elite, businessmen, politicians, and the military. Although Nigeria has changed quite a bit, it still wishes to retain some of its traditional past. The trick is to modernize without sacrificing cherished traditional values. Past rulers at one time controlled the local marketplaces. The markets were usually in close proximity to the ruler's home and were referred to as the Oja Oba, which means the king's market. Today, most markets are controlled by local government councils. Traditional rulers are the custodians of their people's legacy and identity. Although their power and influence has been limited by democratic means, traditional rulers still play an important role in their communities. Eligible candidates campaign vigorously to win ascendancy to the throne and are selected by a council. Modern-day candidates need to have an adequate formal education and have distinguished themselves in some business field. They are generally a spiritual and religious people, although the religions have changed drastically. Before the 18th century, Africans practiced tribal religions like animism and Satan worship. That all changed when Islam and Christianity arrived. Islam came in from the north. Usman Dan Fodio, a Muslim, promised jihad on the region and attacked from the north, forcing Islam on the northern provinces. He would have taken the whole area had the British not stopped him from the southern coastline, and therefore we have Christianity from the south. Today, about 47% of the people are Muslim and 38% are Christians. The use of the traditional family compound has declined. In the past, as the male children in a family became adults, they were given plots of land adjacent to the family home on which to build their own houses in preparation for starting their own families. Female members were expected to marry and become members of their husband's family. Today, the more educated people and those who live in big cities have abandoned this tradition. That's all we're going to cover for today. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Be good, do good.